Hey, it's Jenn.
And Todd.
And today we're doing it's technically a podcast, but it's a very specific podcast, which is not something that we've done. We've been kind of general about it. So, which one are we talking about first? Oops.
That was your clipboard.
Yeah, it was. Okay, who cares? Okay, so...
I say we do a little introductory, and then we talk about them one at a time.
Okay.
So, over the weekend, I believe it was, because I can't even remember, we had watched 2 movies, both Victorian-era Jack the Ripper comic book / graphic novel adaptations. So we had watched Gotham by Gaslight.
And Johnny Depp.
From Hell.
Yeah, From Hell.
From Hell.
And I had seen From Hell before, but you had only seen parts of it.
I had seen parts of it when I was a small child when it first came out.
Oh, that's...
Back in 2001. So
you were a small child?
I was at least 12.
Yeah, I was like, that's not a small child.
I was relatively young.
I was a small child.
It.
In 2001, I was like 7, 8.
Yeah.
Well, now that you know our ages.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we watched those movies. I had forgotten when I put in From Hell, to be honest, I had forgotten that it was, the Jack the Ripper one, because we had just watched Gotham by Gaslight, like, a day or two before that. And for some reason, I looked at the case, and I didn't even, like, read the title. But I thought it was Sleepy Hollow. Because that has, like, the same kind of cover with Johnny Depp and, like, looks all creepy and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so...
Johnny Depp with pale woman with large eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And so, tip, like, for you, we organize our movies by things that we've seen and things that we haven't seen. And so the things that we have seen get pushed to the back, and the things that we haven't are up front. And so I was like, oh, I like this Johnny Depp movie, and I grabbed it. And then you had said, wow, you're really about Jack the Ripper lately, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, because it was completely accidental that we ended up watching 2 Jack the Ripper movies that are both based off, like, comic book graphic novel.
Yeah, because I had no idea that From Hell was based off a comic book. Mm-hmm. And I also, the only reason I insisted that we get Gotham by Gaslight is because it is like a mix of things that we both like. Mm-hmm. Because you like Batman and I like Victorian England. Mm-hmm. So that's a little...
Because before that, I had literally 0 interest in watching Gotham by Gaslight. Because, like, you know, I love me some Batman. I do. But, like, I'm, like, Batman'd out. Like, super hard.
That's just because DC's, like, not doing very well.
Yeah. Like, I've picked up, Detective Comics 1000. I've been paging through that. And I'm loving that. But it's just like, if someone was to say, like, hey, like, the next Batman movie's gonna start filming, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I watched the trailer for the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie, I'm just like, whatever, okay.
But that's a little background on how we got into those 2 movies. Mm-hmm. And so we thought that we would put them together for the podcast to talk about, because
since we watched them in rapid succession.
Yeah, and well, we've watched a lot of movies lately, but those 2, I figured they fit together
well enough that we could talk about it.
Right. And so this is probably going to be like a new thing as part of our podcast, where we just kind of talk about the movies that we've watched.
We'll call it Old Movies, New Reviews.
Yes. If you get that reference, like this video, and we can be friends.
It's true.
That's really funny. Oh, also, if you're watching this, just please note that there is definitely spoilers. Like, because we recorded a Pretty Little Liars podcast, and I was like, no, like, let's not do any spoilers yet. And
didn't I make the comment that the show's not even on TV anymore?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to start slow and work my way in, because that
my chair.
Well, stop moving around so much, Squirmy.
I'm just trying to get... I hate this chair. I want to get comfortable.
See, now you gotta talk about how fat you are and breaking chairs, and now I don't remember what I was saying.
You were talking about Pretty Little Liars, spoilers, and you wanted to get into it.
So that video, the reason I didn't want any spoilers was because it was to find out if you should watch Pretty Little Liars or not. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't to, like, really dive into the actual show. Because if I'm making a thing about, like, oh, whether or not you should watch it, and I freaking spoil half of it, you're not gonna watch it.
That's true.
So that's why I was like, no, you can't.
Unless it's, like, a spoiler that's, like, super intriguing.
No.
Or you pull out a whole lot of BS.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh, no, there's no way that thing they said was true because, like, all this other crap is, like, totally BS. And you slip, like, one true thing in there.
It's also different from the books, Pretty Little Liars. We're not here about Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah.
Okay, so... Which do you want to talk about first?
I want to talk about Gotham by Gaslight first, just because it was Gotham by Gaslight.
Which we have two completely different views on.
Which is a good thing, because we get to, you get two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, so I will let you... Okay, so yeah, spoilers are gonna happen. Like, you can't blame us, don't post in the comments, like, you ruined it. Like, if you haven't watched it, don't listen to this.
I will take it slow at first, and I will be like, I will not say straight out who Jack the Ripper was at first. I'll lead into it.
Yeah, so that you can kind of get, like, a little review of it, I guess. I don't know.
But I'm going to be talking about this movie in, like, a technical aspect, as a movie aspect. Like, I want to rip this apart because I was very upset with this movie.
And I thought it was pretty cool. So I know I said that you should start, but now I feel like you're going to, like, tear it apart. And nobody's going to want to watch it by the time that you're done. So I think I should go first.
Right, you go first.
So that there's, like, some hope. Okay. So I'm not, like, into Batman nearly as much as Todd. Like, it's not really my thing. Like, I don't really, whatever. And so the whole reason I got into Gotham by Gaslight, again, is because I like Victorian England. I like murder mysteries. I watch a lot of murder mysteries.
Jesus Christ, you do.
Like, all the TV shows I watch could be technically categorized as murder mysteries.
I think they all are, honestly. Now that I'm stopping and I'm
thinking about it.
Like, I'd say Doctor Who's the only one.
Yeah.
But, like, there's even, like, murder mystery episodes of Doctor Who where it's just like, no, all you watch is murder. Why?
I don't know. I like mysteries. Leave me alone.
Why do so many people have to die?
I don't know. I mean, I would watch a show about, like, a kidnapping or, like, a bank robbery.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have to be murder mysteries. I just like mysteries. Anyways, and so that was kind of the reason why I watched this movie. And it's very silly. And so another little tidbit that will help to determine if you would like this or not is that I prefer Adam West Batman. I like very, like, silly and cartoony Batman versus, like, where's the drugs Batman. But not so much to say that I like George Clooney Batman with his, like, Batman credit card.
I'm glad that's the part that you pulled out is the Batman credit card, and not, like, you just like Batman to, like, not even care. It's like, I'm Bruce Wayne and I'm Batman. There's no way you can tell the difference. Like, even Michael Keaton disguised his voice. Even Val Kilmer disguised his voice.
So my whole thing with Batman is that I'm not a big fan of the murder, violence, like, just extreme combat. Like, I don't care. If I wanted that, I'd watch an action movie, not a superhero movie. Mm-hmm. So what I like about the Adam West is that it's, like, very goofy, and, like, the pow, punch, and, like, the little, like, you know, the teeth throwing, like, the little, like, teeth, and just, you know, being
there's
goofy.
clatter teeth in Michael Keaton Batman.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't remember.
He punches Jack Nicholson in the face, he spits him out, and they're, like, blood covered.
Oh, yeah. And shark repellent, like, that's the kind of stuff that I like. So this Batman movie is very silly, and just...
But it's not supposed to be.
Right.
Like, it wasn't trying to be silly. No. It's just, like, unintentionally silly.
Right. But I still love that for some reason.
Yeah.
And it also has, like, Catwoman in it without being Catwoman. And I'm a big Catwoman fan. So anything with, like, Batman and Catwoman, especially if they're, like, making an attempt to, like, be a couple, I'm also, like, on top of. So it was silly Batman with the relationship there. It was in Victorian England. It was so freaking silly. I'm just thinking about the stupid steampunk bat cycle. Like, that was so silly and so great.
The silliest thing wasn't even the steampunk, like, steam-powered bat cycle. It was just, like, 5 minutes into the movie, you got the grapnel gun.
Yeah,
and it's
but
like,
it was
even
steam-powered.
Nowadays, you can't make an effective grapnel gun that's, like, relatively the size of, like, a handgun that can lift a person. Like, people will make a homemade, like, grapnel gun, and it's, like, the size of, like, a box from Amazon.
Yeah. I don't know. Whenever I think of, like, grapnel gun, I don't really think of, like, grapnel. I think of, like, a series of unfortunate events where she just has, like, the rope and, like, the hook attached to it at the end, and she just has to, like, swing it, like, in her arm and just, like, throw it, and it hopefully catches onto something.
Well, that's called a grappling hook.
Oh, yeah, and that's just kind of what I think about, and then you just shove that into a gun or something. I don't know how that works, but yeah. So basically this movie is, because I'm not a very, like, I'm not a movie buff. I'm just your average person who watches movies, eats popcorn, and tells you on whether or not I like them and why I like them. And I'm not, like, I can't be like, oh, where these shots were, and, like, this
I'll
is
get
fake.
into that.
Yeah, like,
I'll get into that.
Like, I
don't worry about that.
I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. And so sometimes we have, like, a difficult time discussing on whether or not a movie is good, because he gets into all this, like, technical stuff, and the average person isn't all technical. Like, an average person just sits down, grabs their popcorn, you know, or their Raisinets or their Goobers, and a drink, and watches the frickin' movie.
Is Goobers the chocolate-covered peanuts?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just watches the movie, and so some people are like, oh, well, this is a good family movie, or, oh, this is a good, like, movie I can watch with my significant other, or, like, oh, this is a good movie that, like, really puts me at the edge of my seat. They're not like, oh, well, this frame is, and the voice acting is, like,
I will get into all of that. Don't worry.
Well, I just want people to understand that from my aspect, I'm just somebody who sits on my butt, grabs some popcorn, and watches a movie. And if I don't know, I had a decent, like, I wasn't bored. At no point in time was I like, this is really boring.
Oh, no, it's not a boring movie.
No, it's not boring. It's just ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous.
And I love that. And I don't know how to explain it other than I love the fact that it was completely ridiculous. And I love the fact that it was Batman in Victorian times. And they made that work. Even though it shouldn't work, and even though that was, like, you don't think it worked at all?
No.
Well,
I'll get into it. When it's my turn,
yeah.
I'll spend, like, 10-15 minutes just, like, giving my version of what all the problems I had with the movie.
Right, but, and I don't mean to say as in they made it work, as in they made it work well, but they
They took the effort to try to make it work.
Yeah, they weren't like, oh, we can't possibly.
It's not like the Ninja Batman, where it's just like, well, he's in Japan now.
Yeah, like, why is he in Japan? I don't know, he's gonna become a ninja, I guess. Or, like, how Alfred, like, randomly has, like, all of these, like, these convenient... What's the word I'm looking for? Not hobbies, but, like, he's able to do all these convenient things that Batman just needs. Like, oh, like, I tore my cape, you can mend it. Or, like, oh, I frickin', you know, like, got a gunshot wound, you can take care of that. And it's just like, and you can make me breakfast, and you've raised me since I was a kid, and you used to be in, like, what, Special Forces or something, and you're a butler, and you like to adopt children, and you, like, and it's just, like, Alfred just has these, like, crazy, whatever you need, like, Alfred has.
Like, Batman, like, Batman and Alfred both have, like, a similar, like, amount of skills, just in, like, different areas.
Yeah, but it seems like...
And you would think, like, Batman would, like, be having his dad as a doctor would be able to be like, oh yeah, I'll just take these bullets out myself. Like, my dad was a doctor, I know how to do this crap. Yeah. I was there at the operating room, just chilling while he's just...
or something, but it just... Some of it just doesn't make any sense. So when I say that they tried and they pulled it off well, I don't mean that it was, like... accurate, but I mean that they just incorporated things and kind of explained things that it, like, tied together nicely.
Oh god, did they spend time explaining things?
So let's talk about the Catwoman thing that bothers you, because that is something that, like, tooth and nail, I'm gonna stick to my side and think that that's not dumb, and you think it's just so ridiculous.
Alright. So there's a point in this movie where you get Selena Kyle. I don't think they call her Catwoman at all in the movie. But
obviously she's Catwoman.
Like, she's... I believe she's walking home, and she encounters Jack the Ripper, and out of nowhere, she just happens to have a whip on her, like, up her dress, pulls it out, and is, like, whip fighting Jack the Ripper.
Well, okay, time out. To be fair, the dress is long, and so she has it in, like, her, like, stockings or something, like, almost like if you were to have, like, a handgun, like, stuffed in there. It's not like she pulls it out her butt.
Yeah.
Like, it's a long dress and she, like, gets it out of her stocking.
I saw that part happen, but, you know, she just happens to carry the whip with her at all times, and she gets into a whip fight with Jack the Ripper. Batman shows up, gets his ass kicked.
Yeah. And
then, like, is it Bruce or is it Batman that has the conversation with her?
Bruce.
Where he's just like, oh, I saw that you have a scar on your arm that we never see, and that you must have been in the circus, and that you were a lion tamer, and that's how you know how to use a whip. And he goes on and on for, like, a good, like, solid 3 or 4 minutes about how he was able to, like deduce all this stuff about Catwoman. And I get it's to show, like, his detective skills and to show that he's interested in her, but it's just, like, 90 seconds too much.
No, because I just, like, what else would they talk about? And so again, like, I love the relationship between Catwoman and Batman. And so the fact that they can, like, connect, and they're like, oh, well, I noticed this, and you don't really know that much about me. And he's like, actually, because, like, it puts, like, kind of, like, a real life spin on it. Because if you were out at the bar and somebody comes up to you and has a conversation, you're like, yo, like, whatever, like, you don't know anything about me. And they're like, well, actually, like, I noticed you talking to your friends, and the way that you did this, I can tell that you're a secretary, or, like, I don't know, like, the way you walk shows that you used to do this. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We had to take a short little break there. I had to go get a baby and take a phone call, and I'm gonna be a little out of breath from climbing up and down the stairs.
Stairs are not fun.
They're not fun. Okay, so I was saying that it's nice when somebody notices things about you and it, like, kind of builds a relationship. And the thing about Catwoman carrying a whip is that at that point in time, everybody knows that these murders are these murders are happening, and they're happening to women. And she also purposefully lures Jack the Ripper because she gets ticked off that Batman came and scared him away, and she was like, you jerk, like, that was my one chance. And so her having the whip is not weird at all.
I get that she had a whip because she was Catwoman, but a gun...
Do you think a lot of women had guns in the Victorian age?
I do not know enough about the Victorian age. I think it looks pretty and it sounds terrible.
Yeah. No, women didn't really have guns. No.
Well...
and then...
You continue, because, like...
I was gonna say, and then...
Ow, damn it, my leg.
Well, that's what you get for freaking just not paying attention to your surroundings. And then it's like not incredibly surprising when you find out who Jack the Ripper is that they could take on Batman. Especially because, like, Batman was expecting this guy to just be some person who, like, hated women, and not somebody who, like... To a degree,
he was just some guy who hated women.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't just some nobody.
Oh, no, he wasn't a nobody.
That's what I'm saying. But,
like, his motivation is the dumbest part of the movie. By far.
Yeah, it is. But what I'm saying is that Batman thought it was just some freaking, like, nobody killing off women, and here it was somebody who was, like, specially trained, and he was not prepared.
Which explains why Batman got his ass beat the entire movie.
Yeah. So you're just not picking up on You having some problems with your chair.
I hate this chair.
You only hate that chair because we got this nice new chair.
The new chair is so good.
You got spoiled.
Alright. Is it my turn?
Yes, but note that I'm probably going to stop you at certain points in debate, because I think that's important.
Well, the first thing I want to talk about is, like you said, the technical aspects. Like, right off the bat, there's points where like, the quotations camera lingers, where it's like, okay, this Ferris wheel's gonna be important at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, it just lingers on this Ferris wheel for just too long. The same thing happens to a Zeppelin, where it's like, it just lingers on this Zeppelin for too long. It's like, well, what's
foreshadowing?
What's gonna happen on this Zeppelin? They spent a lot of money to badly CGI this Zeppelin.
So, you said that the motivation is the worst part of the movie. It's not. It's the ridiculous ending.
Oh, no, I will agree that the ending is probably worse than the motivation.
Yeah. That was terrible.
So from the technical standpoint, like, yeah, there are shots that linger for too long, where you, like, even the average moviegoer would stop and say, like, okay, what's gonna happen with the Ferris wheel? Well, you said about the blimp. You brought up the blimp. The Zeppelin?
Yeah.
I brought up this Ferris wheel, like, right in the beginning of the movie. And then, like, the way, like, the CGI stuff is jarring. It's jarringly bad. It sticks out so bad. And then you said, like, someone could draw that.
Yeah.
Someone could have drawn that.
Yeah, I did, because that looked really bad. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Like, that, like, really crappy background.
And then there's, like, a slight anime tinge to, like, how the women are drawn, where, like, Catwoman's eyes are just, like, the focal point of, like, her entirely, where I cannot remember what she was wearing. I just remember her bright green eyes.
She had a green dress.
She had these gigantic, like, anime eyes.
I don't remember
that I kept having to stare at, because they were just, like, kabow in your face the entire time.
I'll have to put a picture in, like, when I edit this, I'll put a picture of Catwoman in there.
There's also a point where, like, Batman and Jack the Ripper are fighting on the Zeppelin. And you get to see the back of Jack the Ripper's head and essentially his hair, which is a different color than the hair of the reveal.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah. I'll get into that when we finally decide to say who Jack the Ripper was. But the hair on Jack the Ripper was like noticeably like a gray-brown. Like a grayish brown.
Okay.
Like a very muted brown. Versus like the actual hair color.
Yeah. Which is just like the frickin' face thing. At the end.
Oh, yeah.
Thing
yeah,
that we were really unsure of.
Yeah, and we didn't bother to go back and rewatch it because we're like, why bother?
Yeah.
But those are some of the technical things that I was like really, and of course like the steampunk bat cycle is CGI because that's also like really jarring.
Yeah.
And
ridiculously funny.
Ugh.
When he came out with that, we were just like, what? What?
And it's set up that it's supposed to be this cool thing. Mm-hmm. And like the only time like the bat cycle or the bat pod or like the whatever you want to call it has been cool is in the Dark Knight movie.
Oh.
And like I know you haven't watched that one yet, but that is like the best part of that entire movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like the entire car chase scene. It's just like from beginning to end. It's just spectacular.
Now we're gonna get all kinds of comments. But I like this shit.
I like the part where the Joker's in the police station. Yeah. The Dark Knight's a great movie, and all the scenes are great. I like the car chase scene the most. Anyways, technically speaking, those are like some of the jarring things I noticed from the movie. The bad CGI, the eyes, the hair. Just there's a lot of like really like jarring visuals where it's like someone could have drawn this better, or they could have spent a little bit of money on this.
Cute input, just because I got the baby right here.
Mm-hmm.
She keeps asking me to do Itsy Bitsy Spider.
Aw, that's adorable.
You want more Itsy Bitsy Spider?
Yeah. So, should we talk about story now? Do we get into like the events of the movie? You have Victorian Gotham, not Victorian England. It's Victorian Gotham.
Oh yeah, it is.
Which
I've been saying that wrong the whole time.
Is it in Europe or is it in America? Because like you have certain characters like Batman, Gordon, who like obviously speak with an American accent, and then everyone else has either like a British, an Irish, or like a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
And I'm like very like kind of struggling to like the placement of where like Victorian Gotham is supposed to be located. Because like under normal like DC continuity laws, like Gotham City is technically in New Jersey.
Yeah, probably not. Because whenever you hear Victorian, you always think of England.
Yeah. Because of Queen Victoria.
Yeah, not only that, but Jack the Ripper was in
Victorian England.
Yeah, so it has to be over there, and it just so happens that
there's a Gotham, apparently.
Yeah, and that Batman has an American accent.
Of all the exposition in this movie, and oh my god, is there so much exposition in this movie, they never really touch on that.
No.
But, they'll explain, like, how Jack the Ripper was able to do this with like a visual montage and then two separate characters describing it. And then like you have the Batman Catwoman thing with the whip. You have the Harvey Dent. It was like, oh, you're a real Jekyll and Hyde when you drink. You have the Hugo Strange bit with the asylum where there's just all this.
You're talking about storyline. Talk about the storyline.
Oh, I'm talking about the exposition stuff.
But you started with the storyline first.
The movie like kicks off in Victorian Gotham. You have Jack the Ripper show up. He kills Poison Ivy like straight off the bat, which hurt me a little bit because I always like Poison Ivy. I don't like Poison Ivy getting killed. So,
of course, the male obsessed with comic books likes Poison Ivy.
Well, you don't care about nature and plants and junk?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, she
And
gets
she's
killed.
a redhead.
She gets killed, like, right off the bat. And it's just like, oh, well, goddamn, okay. You have Batman try to fight him and gets his ass kicked.
You've said that like 6 times.
No, I want to nail that home because like everyone's always like, "Oh, Batman's the best fighter," and all the not Batman fans are like, "Batman's the best fighter," and like all the comic book fans are like, Batman's good, but he gets his ass beat kind of regularly. This guy just straight up kicks his ass like every time. It's like him fighting Lady Shiva or shit. But you have Catwoman show up.
Boring.
Catwoman like does pretty well. Batman shows up, fucks all that up. They get to talking. You get Harvey Dent, you get Hugo Strange, you get Commissioner Gordon, you get Dick, Jason, and Tim Robbins being as like little street urchin kids who just rob people. And this is the only time you see Batman kick anybody's ass. He beats the crap out of their handler. And that's it. That's the only impressive skill that Batman does in this entire movie, like, combat-wise. Alfred, like, is like, yo, you little asshole kids, if you do favors, like, I'll give you, like, food and money and stuff. And they're like, okay.
That sounds bad. You should reword that.
not like dirty favors. Like, go,
pick up Batman.
Go pick up Batman.
Or
drop off this package or whatever. It's not something dirty, but you get a lot of Leslie Tompkins is in it. She's a nun, which I thought was kind of neat. She runs like a orphanage that takes in like wayward kids. I thought that was nice. Like they do some fan service to Batman fans, like interjecting like Batman characters. I thought you would get the Joker. But there's no Joker.
We thought that the Joker had to be Jack the Ripper.
You made that guess.
Yeah.
Early on, you're like, I'm just gonna say that Joker's gonna be Jack the Ripper.
Well, because the Joker is sometimes known. What's his name?
No, sometimes it's Jack.
Yeah.
That's why you said that.
Yeah, and
I was like, no, it's gonna be someone with like the technical skill to like chop people up, and I guessed it was Hugo Strange.
Right.
We were both wrong.
Right. And I also said that like it wouldn't make sense to have a Batman movie without the Joker because we had gone through and met all of these different characters, and I was just like, well, you can't have a Batman movie without the Joker, like at all, And so I was like, well, Jack the Ripper. Jack is sometimes the Joker. It just has to be the Joker. Like that's what makes sense.
So
we were so wrong.
And so
it even makes it seem like it's gonna be Hugo Strange for a little bit.
It makes it seem like it's gonna be Hugo Strange for a little bit, and it also makes it seem like it's gonna be Two-Face, Harvey Dent for a little bit too, and it's not.
And so if you haven't seen it, you're like, who the heck?
Oh, well, we'll get there.
We'll get there.
But
that was so dumb.
You have your standard Batman's doing some detective stuff. He gets 2 cloaks. He gets framed for killing somebody that he didn't kill. Bruce Wayne is in jail. We had to make a point of this because this is very important part of our biggest pet peeve with this movie.
And even though Bruce Wayne had a serious alibi.
He has a solid alibi for how he's not the person who killed this old woman.
Yeah. Because
he was with Catwoman that night.
Yes.
Intimately.
Yes. And she had even said that. But they're like, nope, you're guilty, Bruce Wayne. And even though, they established the fact that Bruce Wayne pretty much built the town.
That Bruce Wayne helped, pay for, most of the town. And he's even seen earlier in the night hooking up with Catwoman in a carriage by at least 2 police officers.
Right, yeah. So it's just it's not possible for it to be Bruce Wayne. And so that's when you start to think that it's Harvey Dent. Because he's the, what's it called?
He's the district attorney.
Yeah, who gets really ticked off that Bruce Wayne hooks up with Catwoman because he wanted to hook up with Catwoman even though he's married.
Yeah.
And he had, made, a slight to What, do you want to do the chicken dance now? Sorry. The baby's, like, flapping her
That's cute.
arms. And he made a comment because Bruce was like, yo, like, I'm sure your wife loves that you have a thing for her, for Catwoman. And Harvey Dent's like, oh, come on, it's the... What does he say?
It's like the 19th century.
Like, that's just what we do. And so he has, like, this thing for Catwoman, and then he gets, like, super irritated that Catwoman's like, no, I don't want you married man. I'd rather hang out with Bruce frickin' Wayne.
Who is also established as kind of a man whore.
Right, but at the same time...
He's not married.
He's not married. And so Harvey Dent's, like, super pissed off and, like, calling Catwoman a whore and stuff. And it's just like... But you're the one that's married.
Yeah.
And you're sleeping around. But yes, please call Catwoman the whore because she likes Bruce Wayne.
Well, the word whore is thrown around quite a bit in this movie, which was a little surprising.
Because they're talking about how Poison Ivy was a whore because she was like some kind of like dancing entertainer.
She was like a
private
like a burlesque type dancer.
Yeah.
And later it's mentioned that she was addicted to opium, though you never see it.
Yeah.
Like Leslie Tompkins says that offhand. And she straight up tries to hook up with Jack the Ripper before he kills her.
Yeah, because they're, like, in an alley.
Yeah.
And once you find out who Jack the Ripper is, it makes sense. Like, if you would see that person in, like, an alley, you would assume that that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
So, there's that. Is there anybody else that gets killed?
I mean... Leslie Tompkins gets killed by Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And they try to make it this big emotional scene, but it's like,
Yeah.
But this old woman sees, like, Bruce Wayne running towards Leslie Tompkins because he realizes that, like, Jack the Ripper is gonna, like, kill her.
Uh-huh.
And...
The old woman ends up getting killed.
The old woman's like, oh, Bruce Wayne, you killed her.
Yeah.
You're Jack the Ripper. Which leads, like... the police to, like, think that he might be Jack the Ripper.
And then
after the old lady gets killed.
And they're like, oh, well, it has to be Bruce Wayne.
Despite him, again, having a solid alibi.
Yeah. And, like, obviously, like, was not concerned when the woman kept yelling that Bruce Wayne was, like, Jack the Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
Because it happened... And the police officer there is with the lady, and she's like, no, Bruce Wayne, it's Bruce Wayne. He's Jack the Ripper. He killed her. La, la, la. And he's just, like, walking away. Like, he doesn't even care. Like, he's not like, shut up or I'll, or anything like that. Like, he just does not care.
Mm-hmm.
Because he knows that he's not Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, if you see somebody...
He's the other guy the police want to get.
Yeah. But, so then he ends up in jail for killing, then they think he's Jack the Ripper, and, like, he thinks Harvey Dent's his friend, and Harvey Dent, like, completely betrays him, and helps throw him in jail.
Oh, and then another great part is, like, the movie spends some time, like, making you think Hugo Strange is Jack the Ripper, and then takes us, like, a moment to be, like, putting both of them in the same scene, and having
Hugo Strange.
Jack the Ripper, like, lure Hugo Strange into, like, this pit full of crazies that end up, like, ripping him to pieces.
Yeah.
So,
that's
like...
what they did in the asylum. They just had, like, this giant pit full of crazy people.
Yeah, it's like a nice little, like, mosh pit.
Yeah.
Full of, like, crazies and psychos.
And then Batman is trying to catch Jack the Ripper. And so Batman is, like, chasing after Jack the Ripper to try to stop him. But for some reason, the cops and the people in the hospital only see Batman. And they're like, Batman killed Hugo Strange! Get him!
Yeah. It's the same thing happens in Mask of the Phantasm, where they see this thing that, like, is clearly not Batman. It looks like death. It's like, oh, it's Batman with the skull mask and the hood and the hook hand. I love that movie, but I've always had a problem with that. But, oh, yeah. Yeah, they and...
We might have to put this in 2 parts.
Maybe. But... They take a moment to be like, oh, we made you think it was Hugo Strange, but it's not.
Okay, so we have some kiddos to put to bed, but we have so much more to talk about, so we're gonna have to cut this here and do a part 2. And so in part 2, we'll reveal who Jack the Ripper is, and then we'll get into... Oh, shoot, can you grab her?
Yeah.
And then we will get into From Hell and our review on that and just what we thought about it. So thanks for checking this out. Seriously, stick around for part 2. I'll put them up, in the same week, so that you're not waiting for like 3 weeks or something like that. And check out our other podcasts. And if you're interested, we have some of our other videos, some customs, some action figure reviews,
video games,
the
crafts.
Yeah, we like crafts because that's part of like doing customs. So we have some of those. But yeah, so just check some of those out for us. And thanks for being here. We're glad you're here. And we'll see you in the next one. Part 2's coming, we swear.
It is. Part 2.
Part 2!
The second coming.
See you in the next one.
Goodbye.